Welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining us into a deeper dive of the life of Moses from this series, Moses Out of Egypt. This past Sunday, I preached on Moses and the Passover. And I'm coming to bring you guys hopefully a little bit of encouragement and a little inspiration into this week. Isn't it really interesting that we put photos and different images around our houses that want to remind us and encourage us of something? Typically, the illustration I'm going to use is a family portrait. You put that in, for me, my dorm room or your workplace or above your kitchen table, on a wall somewhere in your house. You have this as a reminder of something that you value, something that's important to you, something that you repeatedly look at and gives this emotion of thankfulness. Well, I think God has an interesting principle to bring to us in this same way as we dive into Exodus. So I'm going to dive into Exodus 24 through 26 today, if you have a Bible and want to read along. It reads, "Obey these instructions as a lasting ordinance for you and your descendants. When you enter the land that the Lord will give you as he promised, observe this ceremony. And when your children ask you, 'What does this ceremony mean to you?' tell them, 'It is the Passover sacrifice to the Lord, who passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt and spared our homes when he struck down the Egyptians.' Then the people bowed down and worshipped. The Israelites did just what the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron." I think it's really interesting that God gave the commandment to the people to remember, to set a specific day, a time a year that you will come and you will remember what I did for you, what I did to set you free, what I did in your life, that you can grasp this and have an emotion of thankfulness, have a remembrance to praise God for this thing. And once he commanded this, they worshiped. This is the same kind of thing that we do with Easter and Christmas and these different holidays to have us remember these things that the Lord had done. And isn't it sad how often we as people forget so easily? The Lord commanded this because he knew we often as humans neglect the fullness of what God has done for us. I am guilty of this so many times in my life. I think this is a common problem in the human condition. But thankfully, God knew us best to command that we would remember these things that he did. I think it's really interesting when we look at the verse that asks, or that says, your children are going to question. Your children are going to ask about what I did, so tell them. This is really interesting to me because I remember working with kids for a long time in my life, in Sunday school, in the nursery, and they're very curious. They ask you why. Why did this happen? What does it mean? And it's funny that we don't really grow out of that as people. I know I'm very curious. I mean, the instant question is why? When people begin to ask questions or tell you to do something, you ask, why? Why do I have to do that? It's a really important practice to give answers to this why, to have a remembrance of why you do the things that you do. And so, why not make that why something significant about following the Lord? Something that is going to impact you and move you into a place that is in deep obedience to what he has commanded. So let me ask you, like he did, like the Lord set forward for the Israelites, so the same way, what do you need to set forward as a marker and a reminder of what he did to free you? For when your children or your coworkers or your friends, your colleagues come and ask you, why do you have this? You have something physical to point and to remind you of the story of your testimony. This could be as simple as when you get into the car and you turn your key and the start up the engine reminds you of new birth. When you flip on a light in your room, you remember the light that the Lord shone into the darkness of your life. If it's as simple as it's a time to eat at 12 in the day when you go to lunch, and you remind yourself as you start the first bite, this is the bread of life that God has given and provided to me. There are these cool little symbolisms you can put in your life. I'm going to ask you to think and chew out in your daily routine when is something that you do that, so people might get curious and ask why. Why are you in so much thankfulness? Why do you love the way you do? Be ready with an answer in that way to remind you of his faithfulness. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you missed the sermon from last week, you can click right here and you can check it out.